You're listening to the Full Court Press with your host, Drew Duncan. Don't you dare touch that dial. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. You're checking me out live from the K-Sun Studios in Wichita, Kansas. I am on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all at Drew Duncan 83. You can listen to me live wherever you are at ksunradio.org. That's ksunradio.org. I've been telling you guys all week about a guest that's going to be on the program today. He is an award-winning author. He's been in the New York Times, Men's Journal, GQ, and Sports Illustrated as a former editor. Ladies and gentlemen, Kevin Cook is on to talk about his new book, Electric October. 7 games, 6 lives, 5 minutes of fame that ended up lasting forever. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us on the program today.
Hi, Drew. It's good to be with you.
You know, Kevin, one of the first things that I caught was the opening of the book, right? A young child is getting ready to rewatch another game on VHS cassette of a baseball game. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid growing up, that was how I fell in love with the Denver Broncos. My dad had the drive on tape. He had the fumble on tape. That was how I became a Denver Broncos fan. In the digital age, has that sort of thing gotten lost between father and son, being able to relive some of those memories together?
I don't know. I hope not. I mean, I hope parents and their kids are watching games today together on any number of different devices. I think that it's a little bit unfortunate that the day game has in baseball has gone away. Everything in the postseason is very late. Especially on the East Coast, you're losing a lot of kids and even parents who can't really stay up late enough to see the end of great ball games like some of the ones that we've had in this postseason. But to the degree that we make it happen, I think we can. I remember my pop always considered opening day and the World Series as school holidays, so I wouldn't have to go to school if our team happened to make it.
You know, and I think part of that still exists. You know, look, I've told people the way that I became a Syracuse fan, it was because I was able to stay up one night and watch Donovan McNabb play a game of football. That was how I fell in love with Syracuse football. Matter of fact, I had Don Brace from the 59 title team on this program about a week ago. Is that something that may save sports? I mean, look, everybody's been talking about ratings and all this other stuff has been going on. I think there's 101 reasons why the ratings are down. Do you think it has to do with the scheduling that has gotten out of control? For instance, I think about Clemson and Oklahoma playing in a college football playoff game on a Friday afternoon at 3.
Yeah, I mean, we see so often in all the major sports the way that TV is utterly dictating scheduling, and I think that often hurts games. One of the criticisms of Major League Baseball, of course, is the games take so long. Well, the simplest way to shorten the games would be to have fewer commercials, because the players are just waiting for the commercials to be over. That's not the kind of thing that Major League Baseball is willing to consider changing right now. I think we're lucky that there are these great moments that influence us. As you say, when you get a moment, you fall for Donovan McNabb, and that is going to stay with you and make you a Syracuse fan the rest of your life. Those kind of things are happening all the time, and the reason that we can see them continue is that people care so deeply about sports, and I just hope that the people who run sports remember that and make them a little bit more accessible to young people, because the competition for young people's attention gets more extreme every day.
We're talking to Kevin Cook right here on the Full Court Press. His new book is Electric October. In the book, back in 1912, a now Hall of Famer, Bobby Wallace, was a player turned coach, and after 191 games, he was fired. In baseball years, that's a season and a quarter. We say that in 2017, you're in a what have you done for me lately society, yet we see the same then. Is it all just boiled down to production on the field no matter what era you're in?
It certainly boils down mostly to that. I mean, winning managers are going to stick around, although every manager has a expiration date, and the players who contribute are going to be paid. And to the degree, I think one thing that has changed since '47, some of the first statistical analysis of the game was being done by the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947, and one of the interesting things about researching Electric October was finding out about that. I think we're starting to realize how important, say, in baseball, defense is. Once you can quantify that, then you can pay it. And I think we're finding out ways in which players contribute to victories. So if everybody's going to be incredibly overpaid, let's at least send some of those millions in the right direction. I think that's one of the positives in modern baseball.
You know, obviously in the book, the New York Yankees are a huge center of attention. They're the best program or ball club, I guess you could say, basically in 100 and some odd years of baseball. I don't think there's any way around it. We see them come back, win 3 games in a row. They're now headed to the ALCS. Why is it the Yankees have for so long been able to stay ahead of everybody else in baseball, and it just seems like everybody else is playing catch up? Is there a simple answer to that?
I don't think there's a simple answer. People will talk about the Yankees' mystique, and I don't think the Yankees' mystique ever beat anybody on the field. It certainly helps to be well funded, so that you can make an expensive signing if you need to, and they have done that. I think it's been a remarkable juggling act on Brian Cashman's part, the general manager, because if you're the Yankees, you can't tear it down and rebuild it. You have to compete every year, and to get younger, as they have done effectively, while still contending, to get a really good first few innings out of CC Sabathia last night, to hang in there. I think Didi Gregorius has now convinced a lot of people in New York that he is an even bigger contributor than Derek Jeter was, although nobody will match Jeter's leadership and his own mystique. It certainly... We can say that the aura of the great New York Yankees goes back well before 1947 when I was writing about it, and is going on past last night and into tomorrow.
You know, you were a long time resident of Manhattan and Brooklyn area. I start thinking about sports in New York as a whole. The Jets are a type of football team. I mean, they're excited to be 3-2 at this point. You know, the Giants still kind of have some love around that area. They have yet to win a game of football this year. Obviously, the Knicks are just a terrible basketball team. I think the last time they were good was when they had Latrell Sprewell. What's it going to take for everybody else to be able to get on the winning side that the Yankees have been able to stay on?
Well, you need patience, and that's something that the Knicks certainly have not had. They change their direction every time you turn around, and it was an enormous waste of money to get Phil Jackson, who has an outmoded approach to NBA basketball that the people don't even want to come and play on that team. I think we saw with the attempt to compete with Carmelo, as long as they stayed with Carmelo Anthony, who worked hard to become a more nearly complete player, but there just wasn't enough help for him. I think maybe it's easier in baseball to put together a team because there are so many more players. It seems like you can't compete in the NBA today unless you have 2 or 3 superstars on the same team. But New Yorkers are certainly not willing to wait for very long. They're going to be hounding the miserable Giants, and after New England beats the Jets by about 30 this weekend, that may start happening with the Jets as well.
You know, I'm a researcher, obviously, myself. One of my awards from the Canadian Association of Broadcasters is a research-based award. And when you start doing research on things, you always find a little something you go, it just kind of makes you, you look up and go, well, that I didn't know that. And it's very pleasantly surprising. When you were researching the 1947 World Series, what was the one thing to you that just made you pop up and go, now that is an incredible factoid to find out?
Well, I mean, we definitely both have the same experience. There's nothing like the research stage when you turn over something that you hadn't expected, and you know that you're going to want to save that and deploy it as well as you can. There were many instances of that while working on Electric October, but one of the ones that I found particularly fun was there was a little story in the New York Times way back, page A15 or something, from a 1947 edition that mentioned that the telecast, this was the first World Series that was televised, the telecast had been sponsored. Major League Baseball had chosen Gillette and Ford to sponsor the telecast. They had combined to bid $65,000 for the TV rights, even though a brewery in Brooklyn had bid over $100,000. And the brewery was rejected because Happy Chandler, he was the commissioner at the time, said that it just wouldn't be fitting for baseball, a telecast to be sponsored by a beer. I think that's that's one of the things that we did see change before too much longer.
This Bud's for you now, man. It's all over the place. You can't even, I mean, you could barely watch a regular TV show without seeing a beer commercial.
You wonder if there'd even be stadiums if the beer companies weren't paying for them.
I know, right? That is a total mind blower, man. Kevin, going forward really quick in the playoffs, what do you see right now in the ALCS and the NLCS? Who do you like? Whose bandwagon are you on? Who do you think ends up in the World Series?
Well, going into the playoffs, I picked publicly the Nationals and the Astros, mostly because the Nationals seem to deserve it. I think Dusty Baker is a terrific guy. I'm not sure I'd want to entrust my pitching staff to him every year, but they've got a fascinating roster, and I think they were the best team. That's going to be a question of how well does the Dodgers starting pitching hold up. I think the Nationals, as long as they can send Scherzer and Strasburg out a couple of times, are going to have as good a chance as anyone. Kershaw has struggled in the postseason, and had his bad back this year. The Dodgers are deeper in their pitching staff, and of course have the great Kenley Jansen closing. So that ought to be a terrific series. You look for it to be a 7-game series. The Yankees are certainly going to be significant underdogs against the Astros. The Astros are deeper and stronger up and down the lineup. But the great thing about the Yankees is they might hit 4 or 5 home runs in a day, and that'll turn any game. Aaron Judge looks mystified right now, and will swing at anything low and outside. But he's liable to get hot. Gregorius looks great. They've up and down the lineup. They've got real power. Gary Sanchez and Bird. This is such a lineup that Matt Holliday, an aging but still effective Matt Holliday, can't even get up to the plate. So the Yankees have a puncher's chance, and that should make it real interesting in the ALCS.
Boy, you took everybody over Cleveland. You, sir, have the man's fortitude. Good for you.
Well, they sure looked unbeatable, and it's such a good team and such a good roster. Having seen them get so close last year, you kind of wanted them to have another chance, but you got to pick somebody, and I think Houston's been knocking on the door, and what a great pleasure it would be to see Jose Altuve in the World Series.
I bet it would, especially Aaron Judge. What is he, 6'8"? Is that what he is, 6'8"?
Yes. He is. He makes Giancarlo Stanton look normal sized, but that's where the game is going. I think we're going to see. Now we're seeing when you think about it, tennis players, they're all going to be 6'6" because you can serve downhill, and I think we're going to see more hitters in the Aaron Judge mold that look like strapping linebackers. He can generate an awful lot of exit velocity.
Aaron Judge makes some basketball players look normal size there, Kevin. This is the part of the show, Kevin Cook, where I give anybody and everybody the opportunity to say anything that they want. Sir, the floor is yours. Book information, social media information, anything you want to say. It is all you, sir.
Well, the social information is author Kevin Cook at Facebook. Too many Kevin Cooks, so I had to be author Kevin Cook. But just to take a moment, one thing I'd like to throw out there and see what you and your listeners think is Bert Schotten of the Brooklyn Dodgers was the last manager to manage in a suit and tie. because he told his wife he wouldn't wear a baseball uniform anymore. I think that makes perfect sense because you've got old, overweight, 60-year-old managers dressed like they're going to go in and play third base. They are not going to go in and play third base. So baseball managers ought to wear a suit and tie just like NBA. You don't see the NBA coaches dressed like they're going to go in and play. And they would look silly if they did. So I think we ought to do the same in baseball.
Maybe they ought to start dressing like Howard Schnellenberger and bring in pipes with them too, man.
They could do that. It's more colorful.
Yeah, there you go. Well, everybody, that was Kevin Cook. Kevin, thank you so much for being on the program today.
Thank you, Jerry. I enjoyed it.
You're very welcome. There it is, everybody. Kevin Cook, award-winning author. His book, Electric October, is out now. Very good read. This is the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan 83. We'll be back right after this. Don't you dare touch that dial.